Okay, so this video is going to start looking at working out our network diagram. So all I've done is I've taken the boxes that I used last time in our drawing network diagram and divided them into the 6 spots. So it's exactly the same network diagram, but with them divided into 6 places. Remember, each one of these boxes has a different place value within it. And the one that matters to start with is that I have to put the duration of each task inside the middle box at the top. So task A takes 5 weeks, task B takes 6 weeks, task C takes 4 weeks, task D takes 3 weeks, task E takes 1 week, task F takes 4 weeks, task G takes 13 weeks, task H takes 12 weeks and task I takes 2 weeks. And for some reason, I hadn't realized that my text is still in white. So I'm going to quickly, oh no, wrong one. That's white, and I need to turn my text color to black, and there's all the numbers I just typed in. So that's my first step. I fill in the information about duration of the time. Now at that point, I don't actually need my task sheet anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it, and hopefully if I can, select all of those without doing them individually. Looks like I have to do it individually. I'm going to delete all of those slashes because I don't need those anymore either. Okay, so I've got my network diagram and I filled in the duration times. Now, the thing is, task A and task B are at the start of my network, so they have an early start time of 0 time. Task A takes 5 weeks, task B takes 6 weeks, so that is the end time. Now coming across here, remember my early start time for task C to task E is 5, and my finish time is the duration plus the early start time, so that's 9. Now, when I come to look at task H follows task C and task B. The earliest time that I can start task H is after 9 weeks because I have to have finished task C first. So therefore, the earliest time that I can finish it is 21 weeks. Whereas task F starts after task E is finished, so that's after 10, and the earliest time I can start task G is after 10 weeks because F and D have to be finished, so that's after 24 weeks, and therefore that's 24 and 26. So I have finished my first wave through my network diagram because I've managed to get all my values going forward for the earlies. So when I come to work out my going backwards, I've only got one task that it finishes on, so I don't have to look at multiple places in the network diagram. Whereas if I had 2 places, I'd have to find the biggest number and choose that. So I know that that task is going to start at 26 and finish at 24. So that means that this task can start at 24 and finish at 10, and this task can finish at 24 and therefore start at 12. This task has to finish at 10, so therefore will start at 6. This task has to finish at 6 and therefore start at 5. This task has to finish by 10 and therefore start at 7. This task has to finish at 12. So does this one, and therefore this task has to start by the time task after week 8. And now when I come to this, remember as I'm working back, I've got to find the smallest value as I'm working backwards. So that has to start on task 5 and finish on task 0. And that's going to finish on 6. So I'm using that rule that as I'm going forward, I always take the largest number as I'm working back. If it's 2 numbers, I take the smaller one. And now I work out my floats by finding the difference between the top line and the second line. So that's a 0, that's a 3, that's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 2, that's a 3, that's a 0, and that's a 6. Now I get to write down my first couple of tasks. Remember when we had our question? I need to find the task of the critical path. I need to find the minimum length of time required to complete the project. I need to find the start and finish time for each task. Well, that's all contained in this diagram. So I know that the critical path is task A, task E, task F, task G, task I. So that's my critical path, A, E, F, G, I, and I know that because my float times for all of those tasks are 0. The minimum time to complete the task, complete the project, is 26 weeks. Get that because it took a total of 26 weeks to get through my critical path. And I've got the start and end times of each task shown on here. So the start time is 0 and 6, 0 and 5, 5 and 9. So it's all contained within this network diagram. So that is my first part of my critical path diagram. I have got my network diagram, I know the critical path, and I know the duration. Okay, so the next part of this is I've got to draw my Gantt chart. So I'll see you next time for that.